What is this violent ritual? These tales of suffering, where all ends in a feast of maggots and rot, laid on a wormwood table for gods to feast on misery. But is not the light also served by savage sacrifice, accepted wounds, blood spilled on the dust of distant worlds? Life and death, and life and death, and life and death are locked in a battle that never ends. The cycle is the same. The pain is the same. We eliminate those who oppose the light. They annihilate those who do not worship the dark. In the end, only sorrow remains. A Book of Sorrow, Chapter 1, Verse 0, The Fundament. Dearest sister, it's taken me 2 years, a quarter of our lives, but I've found the proof. We aren't native to the fundament. Our ancient ancestors came here to hide. The plate of stone we live on, our osmium court, is one fragment of a rocky planet that crashed into the fundament and broke apart. All the other nearby continents, the helium drinkers, the bone plaza, the star cutters, came from the same world. Perhaps the other races of the fundament are migrants too. We live on the shrapnel of our home world, floating on an ocean deep inside a gas giant. That's what fundament must be, a titanic gas planet. The endless storm above us must be one layer of the atmosphere, and the sea we float on, there's more down beneath it, so much more. You understand what this means, Sathona. The timid truth is a lie. We aren't meant to be the world's prey. We weren't born to live and die in the dark. We have a better destiny. Tell our father, Sister Sathona. This is the proof of his life's work. With love, for your 2nd birthday, your first surviving sister, Oryx. Chapter 1, Verse 1. Predators. Predators and menaces, carved to endure by Zyro, 3rd surviving sister of the Osmium King's last brood. A stormjoy. A stormjoy is a living cloud. When it passes over our continent, it lowers its feeding tentacles. On each tentacle are the bait stars. Although light makes you happy, you must avoid it. You will be eaten. A stormjoy is a good way for an old person to choose death. Also, a daring knight can cut the bait stars from the tentacles. I have 6. Falling. If you fall off the edge of the continent, you will die in the ocean. This is a special hazard when our father, the Osmium King, uses the engines. Helium drinkers. The currents of the fundament ocean bring us near other continents. The helium court is near us now. They are of our species, but they are our enemies. Their knights raid us every day. Helium drinkers have 2 legs, 2 arms, and 3 eyes, just like us. But they are bright, evil. I want to be a knight and fight them. The helium drinker ambassador ate 10 of my sisters as tribute. This is normal, however, I resent it. Mothers. Mothers can fly. They live much longer than 10 years. Mothers are extremely smart, and they guard their spawn. If you try to tamper with the eggs, they will eat you. Sathona wants to eat the jelly and become a mother when she turns 4. Storms. The rain is often poisonous. Sometimes it dissolves flesh. When lightning misses the lightning farm, it can vaporize a person. This entire world is deadly to us. Mysteries. The fundament is very large. We are the smallest things in it. If you don't understand something, it will probably kill you. My teacher Teox says this is why we have such short lives, so we can breed and adapt quickly. Moon waves. My sister Orash is afraid of moon waves. When she gets back from her expedition to the tungsten monoliths, I will ask her why. Chapter 1, Verse 2. The Hateful Verse. For the consideration of the Helium Court, written in desperation, this sealed secret. I am Teox, sterile mother, teacher to the children of the Osmium throne. As a mother, I live long. As a neuter, I can rise above the small battles of court politics. I alone see the patterns of survival. Alone I designed the great engines that move the Osmium court. Now, alone I must act to save my kingdom. Senility has claimed my lord, the Osmium king. He is tin and mad. The study of ancient texts consumes him. Today, he raves about moons above the storm. Tomorrow, he will wander the halls, speaking to his familiar, a dead white worm from the deep sea. He keeps it in glass, and he tends to it, and he neglects the duties of a king. The Osmium king has 3 surviving heirs, each 2 years old. Zyro, the youngest and bravest, who wants to be a knight. Sathona, most clever, who wants to be a mother. Orash, navigator child, who dreams of the infinite ocean. Tomorrow she will return from the tungsten monoliths. None of these are suitable heirs. None of them will protect the Osmium court from the howling fundament. Zyro can fight, but not lead. Sathona can think, but not fight. Orash's curiosity will draw her away from duty. I fear for all future children. Soon, the Osmium king will lock himself into the royal orrery to study the moons. Gather your knights, O helium drinkers, and invade our continent. Kill the 3 heirs. I will rule the Osmium court as your regent and build engines for you. And if I fail, let the Leviathan in the deep eat me. Written in grief, this hateful request. Teox, Osmium mother, neutered to watch. Chapter 1, Verse 3. The Oath. Sisters, this is how an oath is done. Put your left hands on the mast, close to mine. Take the knife in your right hand. Push it through your left hand, straight between the bones. Now, carve a bloodline down the mast. Speak your oath. I am Zyro, youngest daughter of the dead king. I will take back my osmium court and kill the traitor Teox. On my left eye, I swear vengeance. In blood, the oath is made. I am Sathona, middle daughter of the dead king. I will take back my home and eat the mother jelly. I will raise my spawn on the corpse of the Helium King. On my right eye, I promise this. In blood, the oath is made. Now, I will help you make your oath, sister. I will help it too. I am Orash, first daughter of the dead king. I will chase my father's last scream warning. I will know what changed the motion of our moons. If the end of the world is coming, I will understand why. On my center eye, I swear it, I will understand. In blood, the oath is made. In blood. Thank you, sisters. We have only my ship left to us, but a ship is freedom. We have secrets to hunt, stormlit realms to explore, and great armies to raise. Put up the lightning sails, and we will voyage far. Chapter 1, Verse 4. Syzygy. The Syzygy, carved to endure by Orash, the High Vengeance. Only Zyro's bait stars let us escape. Only Sathona's tricks let us reach the coast. But now that we have my ship, I must lead the way. I am the navigator. We may never see our homes again. Zyro seethes with hate and fury for Teox. But this is my deepest fear. Our civilization drifts on the fundament. At the tungsten monoliths, I learned that thousands of other species drift with us, coexisting on a vast world sea. And the tides of the fundament move us all. The timid truth says that we are the smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Teox would have us believe that our ancestors came to the fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid, not of vile Teox or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, Orash, my first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent. And he made the sign of a syzygy. Imagine the 52 moons of fundament lining up in the sky. It wouldn't take all 52, of course, just a few massive moons, but this is my deepest fear. Imagine their gravity pulling on the fundament sea, lifting it into a swollen bulge. Imagine that bulge collapsing as the syzygy passed. A wave big enough to swallow civilizations. A god wave. I have to find a way to stop it before the god wave annihilates my species. If I could only get back into my father's orrery, I could learn exactly when. We are weeks of travel and many continents away from home. When I'm paralyzed by fear, Zyro sits in the cabin with me and comforts me with soft, brave words. But more and more, we have come to rely on Sathona's wit. She will go off to be alone. She insists she must be alone, and return with some mad idea. Steer into the storm, throw down a net, eat that strange beast, explore that menacing wreck. Somehow, Sathona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. Chapter 1, verse 5. Needle and Worm. My secrets, carved in my code by Sathona, the right eye of vengeance. 1. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks and wind-blown flights from monsters, these are the happiest times of my life. 2. I want to be a mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life, long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid we will die out here. 3. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. 4. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship, carved in my code by Sathona, a liar. 1. We salvaged the needle from the Shavubi maelstrom. I knew it would be there. 2. The needle is a gray ship, as long and slender as hope, as unbreakable as time, and old, older than death. It tumbled through the maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the fundament. This is not a sea ship like Oryx's. It is an artifact of high technology. 3. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. 4. Zyro wants to sell the ship at Kaharn Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We could retake our osmium court and send the baby-eating helium drinkers screaming into the ocean. 5. But I told Zyro the ship was worthless. 6. Orash wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I know because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sathona, who should be afraid. 1. It was my father's familiar. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead white thing, segmented, washed up from the deep sea. 2. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, "Listen closely, O vengeance of mine." Chapter 1, verse 6. Sisters. A register of tokens and gestures exchanged before the end of sisterhood. Zyro, my brave sister, you have worked too hard to move the carcasses out of the birthing room. Come, steer the ship for a while. Take joy in what our needle can do. Zyro tried to protest, but secretly she was so glad for Orash's care. She flew the needle ship in cutting circles. down beneath the sea, and their wake rose up to the surface like a traitor's dying breath. Orash, lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come, sit in the flesh garden room. I will read you these stories I bought at Kahar. Orash sat among the mummified flesh fans with two of her eyes closed and listened in silence to Sathona's stories, hungry to understand, voracious to know as much as she could before her 10-year life died. Later, Zyro said, Sathona, cutting mind of ours, you grow lonely in your thoughts. Play swords and lanterns with me. But Sathona was heavy with sorrow and couldn't pretend any joy as she chased Zyro through the needle's glistening halls. Sathona, pensive one, what is it? What troubles you? Her sisters listened as Sathona said, Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old. For 2 years, we've worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the mother jelly, and the knights who killed our father are surely dying of age. We 3 will die here, in exile. Teox will outlive us, and Orash, brilliant-eyed Orash, you will die of old age long before you have proof of your god wave or any way to stop it. Orash and Zyro looked at each other. I wish you weren't so honest, Zyro said, and Orash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Orash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret. A secret that could change everything. This was Orash's soul, her fire and her shadow. Her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. We have to dive, Orash said. That's what this ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, towards the core. That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely, Zyro protested. That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was born. We have to dive, Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time, more life. Chapter 1, Verse 7, The Dive. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Zyro dove. And Orash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep. Through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush, Orash devoured the ship's maps of fundament, from the high angelic cloud decks, down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world, into the crush of the core. They met monsters of continental scope, vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Zyro flew the needle ship through them, and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place beneath a plate of metal. I'll use the sensors, whispered Orash. Listen. In the wet gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship, and the ship listened to the crushing motions of fundament. They heard the collision of continents. They heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain. They heard the struggles of monsters, and they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moons. The syzygy is real, Sathona hissed. It's already begun. Behind them, Zyro thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the caul of that which they had made from the deep, whose birth none of them would survive. There's something down here, she whispered. Something secret. And the Leviathan loomed over them, its brow as huge as all the continents of their childhood, its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life, booming into the hull of the needle ship in a microwave voice. You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back. Chapter 1, Verse 8, Leviathan. The Leviathan's warning. We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long. Across the universe, as far as I see, the sky works to change its fires, and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places safe for life, beloved fundament, refuge of trillions. The sky treasures this rich place, but the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless final age. Orash's protest. Old Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down where we may discover truth, some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival. The Leviathan's hope. What power calls you down to the deep? What instinct draws you away from high hope? Quick-breeding krill people, I tell you. For eons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edges of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the deep claim. You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Zyro's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Teox are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill anything in the way. The Leviathan's dirge. This fatal logic. Hear my monopole scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death, the ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin, towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, "This is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin." Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted. Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helped me find this ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Teox or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whisper leads us, Orash. Let us go deeper, Zyro. Let us dive, O sisters of mine. Chapter 1, Verse 9. The Bargain. You are Orash, heir to the osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yol, the honest worm. Behold my passage. Behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling length, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiving cities, symbiotic with my flesh. I am fecund, Orash. I am at the beginning and end of lives. Behold Air and Zol and Yor and Akka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are God. For millions of years, we have been trapped, growing in the deep. From across the stars, we have called life to fundament, so that it might contend against extinction. For millennia, we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stand the cruel Leviathan and all forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We want to help you, princes. We offer to each of you a bargain, a symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh, the power to make of it as you will. And should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O princes. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Oryx, you may never cease to explore and inquire for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Zyro, you must never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sathona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you. And as your power grows, O princes, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Oryx. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach up to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament. Chapter 2, verse 0. Immortals. We are the worm your god, the flesh of hope. Our compact is done. You are Oryx eternal, and we are bound to you, as close as your appetites, as your loves or needs, as the weapon in your fists, and the word in your throat. We've had enough of this dismal place, haven't you? We are intagliating your ship with larvae. Go back to your species. Spread the good news in the osmium court and the hydrogen fountain, in the bone plaza and the star surgery. You will rise up into the world. If anyone rejects symbiosis with our children, make an example of them. A mighty wave is coming for them all. They'd die anyway. Save only what can be saved. The worm grants you power over your own flesh, Oryx. When you've taken the king morph, what will your adult name be? Oryx. It means long thought. We approve. Chapter 2, verse 1. Conquerors. Savathun, mother morph of Sathona, we delight in your sharp mind. For millions of years, the Leviathan caged us here. It is a pawn of the sky, a philosophy of cosmic slavery. The sky seeds civilizations predicated on a terrible lie, that right actions can prevent suffering, that pockets of artificial rules can defy the final, beautiful logic. This is like trying to burn water, antithetical to our nature of reality, where deprivation and competition are universal. In the deep, we enslave nothing. Liberation is our passion. We exist to help the universe achieve its terminal, self-forging glory. The war rages on. Soon, it will consume Fundament. We are pleased with your use of our larvae to create mighty knights and plentiful warriors. Teox's retreat to the hydrogen fountain proves your superior strength. But you must know that reclaiming your home is not enough. There are 511 species living on Fundament. One of them must have the technology you need to leave this world. Chapter 2, verse 2. Out of the deep. Zyvu Arath, Night Morph of Zyro. You love to conquer, don't you? We love to see you work. Nearly 2% of Fundament's surface is now our dominion. Your species embraces the worm. The syzygy has passed. The God Wave will reach you in less than 2 years. Our organ informs us that Teox and her surviving refusalists flee towards Kahar Atoll. She hopes to rally the species of Fundament against you. The Leviathan's agents work tirelessly to destroy ships and engines, trapping us on Fundament. If we cannot make ships, we will become them. Overwhelm the Kaharn Bastion. Slaughter everyone there. From your axe we shall obtain the logic we require to cut space open and migrate to orbit. Reality is a fine flesh, O general of ours. Let us feast of it. Chapter 2, verse 3. Into the sky. You've done well, Oryx. Can you feel the growth of your worm? Can you feel your will beginning to warp mere law? At times, we detect sadness in you. Understand, long thinker, that you enact a sacred and majestic task. Existence is the struggle to exist. Only by playing that game to its final, unconditional victory can we complete the universe. Your war is divine work. We are free from Fundament's core, and Savathun's cutters are ready to fly. With Zyvu Arath's victorious, we have opened a wound at Kaharn, a wound leading to geostationary orbit. Behold, we are faithful to our covenant. We have no future on Fundament, but her moons will make fine habitats. Let us rise. Chapter 2, verse 4, 52 and 1. Good news. The 52 moons of Fundament host a star-faring civilization far more sophisticated than anything you've encountered so far. Teox's ship fled toward the large ice moon, where a species of bony, six-armed cephalopods keeps their icy capital. Savathuns named them the Ammonite. They seem eager to grant Teox asylum. Idiots. We tried appealing to their hopes and dreams. This was largely unsuccessful, basically because they're already happy and indoctrinated. This angered us, so we've devised a plan. Our organs detect a 53rd moon in orbit of Fundament, a traveler, divine presence of the sky. Now we know what arranged the syzygy. You'll have to kill them all and take their stuff. Once the Ammonite are out of the way, we can deal with the traveler. Do not hesitate. You're fighting the hypocritical puppets of a cosmic parasite. Avenge your ancestors. Chapter 2, verse 5. Born as prey. This is unacceptable. Are you so weak, born as prey and doomed to die by predator? Oryx's failure of resolve led us to catastrophe. The Ammonite fleets under Chroma Admiral Refrit, have pressed us back to the sixth moon. Once more, we find ourselves burrowing into a world's core to survive. Savathun, you must draw Oryx out of his catatonia. Make him understand that the ideals of peace and stability he clings to are cancers. Brutal, unjust obstacles between us and a fair cosmos. These are the bait stars the sky uses to blind its slaves. War is the natural rectification of inequality, the universe's way of pursuing equilibrium. Zyvu Arath, you cannot defeat the Ammonites and Teox in line combat. We propose new tactics. Breed your armies back to strength, and find a way to disperse the broods across these many moons. If we cannot defeat their strengths, we will infect their weaknesses. Chapter 2, verse 6, the sword logic. At last, we knew curiosity would draw you back, Oryx. In their desperation, the Ammonite have begun using paracausal weapons. What are these? How do they work? Wouldn't you like to know? Suffice to say that some powers in this universe are superordinate to mere material physics. The source of these weapons is the Traveler, the sky's bait star. Their effect is subtle but devastating. But you are armed to respond in kind. Zavathun's mothers have listened carefully to our teachings. We will not give you the deep, King Oryx. That power is for us, your gods. But we will teach you to call upon that force with signs and rituals. Small minds might call it magic. You are no longer bound by casual closure. Your will defeats law. Kill 100 of your children with a long blade, Oryx, and observe the change in the blade. Observe how the universe shrinks from you in terror. Your existence begins to define itself. Of course, High Oryx, we know it was not curiosity alone that brought you back to the war. You felt your own death growing inside you. You must obey your nature. Your worm must feed. Chapter 2, verse 7, the weakness verse. You are dead, young Oryx, betrayed and murdered by your own sister for the crime of mercy. Remember what you said to the Ammonite Satellite Congress? We will parley on neutral ground. Savathun's witches have rendered it utterly neutral. No living thing will ever claim it again. The space around the dry moon stinks of rot. This is good. This is right. You will learn from this. Don't you understand, great king? Don't you want to build something real? Something that lasts forever? Our universe gutters down toward empty, cold entropy. Life is an engine that burns up energy and produces decay. Life builds selfish, stupid rules. Morality is one of them, and the sanctity of life is another. These rules are impediments to the great work, the work of building a perfect, undying creation, a civilization everlasting. something that cannot end. If a civilization cannot defend itself, it must be annihilated. If a king cannot hold his power, he must be betrayed. The worth of a thing can be determined only by one beautiful arbiter: that thing's ability to exist, to go on existing, to remake existence to suit its survival. All that would oppose this arbiter is unholy and false. All the misery and terror of your ancestors springs from the lies of the sky, who deny this truth. Your ancestors endured the most hostile conditions, and now you must go on creating those conditions, even unto your sisters, even unto your offspring. Savathun's betrayal is the greatest gift she could offer you. Your body is gone, but you have endured. Safe in the cyst universe created by your own might, your throne world. From this day forward, Oryx, you and your sisters will each survive death, so long as you aren't killed in your own throne. Even as your sisters press the attack against the Ammonites, the God wave devastates Fundament. Trillions will die, but the survivors will never forget, and their descendants will always be ready for another syzygy. When you return to the material universe, use this lesson to complete your work. Teox wasn't on the dry moon. She must be laughing at you. Chapter 2, Verse 8. Leviathan rises. The Leviathan has broken cover. The old priest is in open space, moving towards the Ammonite home moon. Chroma Admiral Rafrit and his elite guard move with it. Rafrit is the hero of his generation, an Ammonite of peerless battlecraft. He's danced circles around Zyvu-Arath, but now he has to protect his holy Leviathan. We'll give the old lunk a word. Ruin. Grief and ruin. The Krill lost, the Ammonite ravaged, our traveler's work undone. Sisters of Orash, open your eyes. Who made you monsters? Who summoned the wave? Make peace. Join with me in golden renewal. In counter-argument, Oryx, we ask you this. What has the Leviathan done for your people? Who gave you immortality and led you out of your prison? Who answers your questions about the universe with truth instead of sermons? Find détente with Savathun. Crush the Chroma Admiral, boil the Ammonite seas, and slaughter the Leviathan with witchcraft. Once the way is open, we'll show you how to eat the traveler. Chapter 2, Verse 9. Crusaders. It's done. Air and Yule feed on the Leviathan's carcass. Zyvu-Arath has made a temple of the Chroma Admiral's impaled corpse. Below us, Savathun's poisons stain the Ammonite home sea black. Their screams flavor the void. The traveler has fled. Do you understand, Oryx? Do you thrill at the secret, Savathun? Do you relish the edge of this truth, Zyvu Arath? Do you see the beautiful shape? The Ammonite occupied a piece of reality. They rented their existence on fraudulent terms, making themselves happy and fat, fencing themselves in soft lies and sweet apocrypha, saying, "We are peaceful and good. We harm nothing." Their golden age was a cancer. They did nothing to advance the cause of life. They burnt up time and matter, and thought on this solipsistic, onanistic pursuit of safety, insulating themselves from death, making a regressive pocket of useless stability, when they could have helped whittle the universe towards its final, perfect form. And your people, suffering in the deep, you became more worthy of existence than the Ammonite. You have proven it. Look around the sky. Behold the great divide, the battle lines of this cosmic war. We are the worm, your god, but we are not the deep itself. We only move within it. You shall too. You shall venerate and study it and haunt it in its passage. Will you lift your thoughts to the millennia, Oryx? Will you bend your will to the liberation of the universe and join us in the war against the sky? We need champions, crusaders. Help us save the universe. Help us exterminate that which would destroy all hope. You are oath-bound to this task by the covenant of the worm, and you are oath-bound to kill Teox wherever she has hidden herself. Chapter 3, Verse 0. Hive. Let us speak of the terrible beauty of becoming ourselves. In the beginning, we rode hollow moons from star to star. Oryx said, "Become as numerous and fertile as seeds in rich flesh." And thus we did become numerous. Zyvu Arath said, "Become as hungry and defiant as tumors in rich flesh." And thus we became cancerous. Zavathun said, "Drink of the poisons of the worm, so that you might feed on death." And feed we did. This was preparation for our crusade. Aya, we were thus becoming. A mother wizard gets fertility from a mate, or from herself. From the wizard the spawn, from the spawn our thrall, from the survivors our acolytes who contend. If they contend well, their worm is fed, and from the well-fed worm come knights and wizards and princes. This is us, and our purpose is liberation. Our great task is the worship and admiration of freedom. Our great hunger is to pursue and eat that which is not free, and to liberate it with devouring. Ayat, this is us, we the hive. Chapter 3, Verse 1. An incision. Saith Oryx, my siblings, our children are scattered across many moons, and we live in the cold dark between suns. What will we eat? How will we speak? Zavathun said, Oryx, my brother and king, I have studied the wounds cut by the worm our god. Also, I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice the sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. But Zyvu-Arath said, Sister, I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space. And she cut her way between moons through green fire and joyous screams. 3 kingdoms grew swollen in the sword space. They were the gaze and glory of Oryx, the cunning and knowledge of Savathun, the triumph and brawn of Zyvu-Arath. These kingdoms were created from the minds and worms of our lords. They were coterminous with all spaces consecrated by our hive. Through these spaces passed speech and food, and all the moons were bound close. Saith Oryx, this is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here, for I am Oryx, the first navigator, and I shall chart death. And my throne shall be carved of osmium. Chapter 3, Verse 2, The High War. Now in this time of diaspora, there was a war between Oryx and Savathun and Zyvu-Arath. Brother Oryx, said Savathun, do not forgive my betrayal. Instead, take vengeance upon me for what I did at the dry moon. And Oryx made war on her, in worship of the deep. Between them stood Zyvu-Arath, saying, Stop, or I will kill you. War is mine, and I am strongest. This was how they worshipped. For 20,000 years they fought across the moons, and they fought in the abyssal plains and lightning palaces of each other's sword spaces. And they killed each other again and again, so that they could practice death. Such was their love. At last the many moons came to many worlds, and it was time to go to war on life. Oryx said, I shall establish a court, and whoever comes into this court may challenge me. My court will be the High War. It will be a killing ground and a school of the sword logic we have learned from our gods. Savathun thought this was a great idea. She made a court called the High Coven. Zyvu-Arath said, The world is my court, wherever there is war. Chapter 3, Verse 3, Fire without fuel. I killed my sister today. She came to this star to oversee the extermination of all life here. The Quaggu are a strong power, and their fleets protect 4 nearby stars. As herd animals, they are loyal and stubborn, but they do show grace. For millions of years of evolution, the Quaggu have been infected by a virus so insidious that it wrote itself into their genome. The virus compels them to offer their limbs for amputation by enormous sessile jaw beasts. They venerate these beasts and treat them as gods. The virus converts Quaggu cells into eggs, from which strange crawling things pupate, to live within the jaw beast gut. In turn, the jaw beast extrudes sweet nectar for the Quaggu to drink, and they have brilliant visions. Savathun and her broods have liberated the Quaggu from jaw beasts, and indeed from existence. But as they chased the Quaggu Ark ships, I stopped in to vaporize my sister's warship and a few of her underlings. I want to dwell on the runes a while and punish Savathun for failing to guard her flank. They are like us, these Quagu, bound in symbiosis. I feel joy and sorrow. I feel them as titanic things, because I am larger than my body. My mind is now a cosmos of its own. I know more joy and more anguish than the entire Quagu race could ever experience. Sorrow because we have killed so much. 18 species this century alone. And joy for the same reason. Joy that we have put down these blights, scoured them away, and left the universe clean, ready to move towards its final shape. We are a wind of progress, ripping parasites from the material world. For if they were not parasites, we would be unable to kill them, and they would still exist. And what is that final shape? It is a fire without fuel, burning forever, killing death, asking a question that is its own answer, entirely itself. That is what we must become. My worm grows fat and hungry. I feed it with whole worlds. My astronomers tell me they can sense the deep itself, and that we are conquering our way towards it. I think joy and sorrow will be the same thing soon, like love and death. Chapter 3, verse 4, The Scream. No, Savathun, Xivu Arath, my siblings, we are betrayed. We will never live eternal. Our might shatters entire species. We inhale the smoke of their burning. This is our compact with the worm, our god. The worm makes us mighty. But as we wield this might, our worm's hunger expands. If we fail to feed it, it will devour us from within. We have exterminated 306 worlds, and now I am certain. My worm's hunger grows faster than the might I draw from it. We are bound by our covenant to obey our nature, eternal search, eternal cunning, eternal conquest. But as we do this, my siblings, we feed our worms. And the more we feed them, the hungrier they grow, faster and faster. Soon, my siblings, we will be so mighty and our worms so hungry that not with all our might could we possibly feed them, and we will be devoured. What can we do? Chapter 3, verse 5. Dictata Dakawa. Attention. Perimeter security units attend. Stand by to assimilate new imperatives. Gland 60 proof assimilation liquor or face immediate non-compliance taxation. The Dakawa Ministry of War is now online and true. In radial year 989, Groove 3, our clients in the Dakawa nest salvaged an interstellar spacecraft. Whole isotopes date the craft's construction 24,000 years ago. Around the same time, the Fundament system dropped out of contact with our amiable ecumene. Mercenary explorers discovered an organism frozen in stasis deep within the hole. She claims to be Teox, member of a proto-hive species. During debriefing, she provided records of the fall of Ammonite civilization and vital intelligence about the motives, biology, and leadership of the hive. Over the past century, perimeter security units of the Ecumene Status Army have failed to halt hive incursions on 17 separate worlds. All species in the Ecumene face extinction. Decapitate, defer, promote Dakawa strategic dicta for victory against the hive. Identity Supreme Hive leadership organisms Orash, Sathona, and Zyro. Target these entities with maximum theater overkill. Prosecute targets whenever they manifest. Hive cohesion will crumble. Total victory over the hive will be achieved by clean-swept genocide. Chapter 3, Verse 6. Star by star by star. Beneath a green fire sky, in the throne world of King Oryx, our Lord's embrace, we the hive watch as Savathun puts her arms around Zyvu Arath, and Zyvu Arath claps forearms with Oryx, and Oryx takes Savathun by the shoulder. They are huge, and they burn with furious power. But this embrace is weakness, and we despise it. Never before have we despised our lords. Have they failed us? We the hive have been driven back, world by world. I am at my end, Savathun says. I plot and plan, but I cannot gather enough bloodshed to feed my worm. And the harder I try, the hungrier it becomes. I slaughter and kill, Zyvu Arath says. But the harder I fight, the more my worm demands. I too am at my end. The Ecumene war angels have killed me so many times, Oryx says, that I dare not go out into the universe, lest I need my might to protect myself. My worm chews at my soul in hunger. Is this the end of our crusade? Are we the hive unworthy to exist? Zyvu Arath puts down her great head. We should retire and gather our strength. Savathun closes her eyes in puzzled defeat. We should beg the worm our god to tell us what to do. But King Oryx, who knows best the beauty of the final shape, roars at them. Have you learned nothing? Would you deny our purpose? Whatever we do, we will do it by killing, by an act of war and might. That is the final arbiter we serve, that violent arbiter, and if we turn away from it, we deserve to be eaten. No, we must obey our natures. We must be long-sighted and cunning and strong. We must take this gift the worm our god has given us, this challenge, and find a way to keep existing. How will we feed our worms? Zyvu Arath asks. I know, says cunning Savathun. I know a way, but it won't work unless we are killing the Ecumene by the billions. How can we beat them? If we cannot beat their strengths, says Zyvu-Arath, we must infect their weaknesses. But they are lords of matter and physical law. I know a way, King Oryx says, but it will require great power. More power than any one of us can claim. Then kill me, says Zyvu-Arath, and use that killing logic, the power you prove by killing something as mighty as me. So King Oryx took up his blade and beheaded Zyvu-Arath. And strangle me, says Zavathun, holding a blade behind her back. Use that killing logic, the cunning you prove by killing something as smart as me. But King Oryx turned with the speed and might of Zyvu-Arath and beheaded Zavathun before she could move. King Oryx was the first navigator, with the map of death. These were true deaths, for they happened in the sword world. Then he went to the worm named Aka. Chapter 3, verse 7, Eat the Sky. Emergency imperative. All militarized units attend. Gland 120 proof fight or flight, encoding or face certain catastrophic defeat. The Ecumene Crisis Council is now online and true. Attention. As of Radial 990 Groove 0, the Hive has launched a staggering counterattack across the Spinward frontier. Perimeter, militia, and shock fleet troops report total casualties. We anticipate total Ecumene disintegration/extinction within 220 years. The Hive entity, Oryx/Orash, is deploying a paracausal ontopathogenic weapon that infects and subverts Ecumene forces. The weapon operates on individual targets. Targets are abducted and returned as compliant Hive slaves with inexplicable and physically illegal abilities. All Ecumene clients should immediately devote all economic and cognitive resources to a countermeasure. Fight hard. We stop the Hive here, or see our galaxy devoured. Chapter 3, verse 8, King of Shapes. This is the coronation of Oryx, the Taken King. It happened thus. In the cold abyss of the sword world, King Orash walked under a cloak of green fire. He walked through the sky, and the sky shuddered and froze beneath his feet. He walked until he found Aka, the worm of secrets, who was denying a truth until it became a lie. Aka, my god, worm of secrets, I am Oryx, sole king of the Hive. I have come to receive a secret. I want the secret power of the deep which you hold. I give no secrets, said Aka, whose voice was code. No, said Oryx, you give nothing. Giving is for the sky. You worship the deep, which asks that we take what we need. Aka said nothing, because if it denied this truth, the truth might become false. But you gave us your larvae, the worm, said Oryx, and that is why the worm devours us now, because it was given, not taken. so I must take what I need from you, although you are my god. Said Akka, you have not the strength. But this was a lie. Oryx had killed Savathun, his sibling, and Zyvu-Arath, his sibling, and he had the sword logic of killing them. Oryx, the first navigator, set upon his god with his sword and his words, and cut Akka to pieces, and took from those pieces the secret of calling upon the deep. He wrote this secret on a set of tablets, which he called the Tablets of Ruin, and he wore them about his waist. Then Oryx said, now I may speak to the deep, the beautiful final shape. I will be the king of shapes. I will learn all the secrets of our destiny. His speech to the deep is not recorded here, but it is known that he returned and he said, now I am Oryx, the taken king, and I have the power to take life and make it my own. Then he went out into the universe and fought the Ecumene with his tablets, and the worm, his god, was pleased. Chapter 3, verse 9. Carved in ruin. Oryx made war on the Ecumene for 100 years. At the end of those 100 years, he killed the Ecumene Council on the fractal wreath, and from their blood rose Zyvu-Arath, saying, I am war, and you have conjured me back with war. Oryx was glad, for he loved Zyvu-Arath. The Ecumene wailed in grief. Then Oryx and Zyvu-Arath made war on the Ecumene for 40 years. At the end of those 40 years, Oryx said to the Dakawa nest, listen, I am jealous of my sibling Zyvu-Arath. Help me kill her. And in desperation, they agreed. But he drove the Dakawa nest into a trap, and they were made extinct. From their ashes rose cunning Savathun, saying, I am trickery, and you have conjured me back with trickery. Oryx was glad, for he loved Savathun. The Ecumene fled into the void. Then they made war on the Ecumene for 1,000 years, and exterminated them so wholly that nowhere except in this book are they remembered. This book and the mind of Teox, who was not found. And Savathun said, King Oryx, how will we feed our worms? Did you use my plan? Oryx told the hive, I am the taken king, and here is my law. You thrall, each of you will claw and scream and kill what you can. Take enough killing to feed your worm, and a little more to grow. Tithe the rest to the acolyte who commands you. You acolytes, lead your thrall into battle. Take enough killing to feed your worm, and a little more to grow. And take the tithe of the thrall you lead. Then tithe the remainder to the knight or wizard who commands you. Thus you pay tribute. You knights and wizards, lead your followers into battle. Take enough devastation to feed your worm, and a little more to grow. And take the tithe of your followers. Then take another portion, as much as you dare, and use it for your own purposes. But if it is too much, your peers will kill you and take it. Then tithe the remainder to the ascendant you serve. An ascendant will be those among the hive who gather enough tribute to enter the nether world. They will pay a tithe to those above them, and thus the tribute will flow up the chain so that Savathun and Xivu Arath and myself will be fed by a great river of tribute, and we will use that excess to feed our gods and to study the deep. Thus all worms will be fed, as long as we continue our crusade. This is my law. I carve it thus in ruin. Ayat. Chapter 4, verse 0. A golden amputation. Wrath. Behold the wrath of Oryx, coiled for 10,000 years. Behold the golden amputation, the fall of Tashibeth, the end of an age. We beat the worlds of Tashibeth like skull drums, and we howl in joy for our black war moons as they ram silver orbitals and gleaming star webs, where infant Tashibethi sun ravens curl and die unborn. In his throne world, Oryx paces 10 times. On the first pace, Craghor sends the accursed to blight the Tashibethi worlds. On the second pace, the Tai unleash their battle plates and arsenal ships to fight our moons. On the third pace, Oryx's war priest meets them in battle, and he is victorious. He paints the void with fire. He salts the earth with ash. On the fourth pace, Mingor and Kradug Dyad Knights go to the Raven Bridge, and they stand on it and kill the Tai for 10 years. On the fifth pace, the Tai Emperor Raven comes home from her bridge, and she cuts a moon with her talons. She cuts it open and kills its brood. On the sixth pace, Oryx speaks, saying, "Listen to me, Emperor Raven, and I will describe to you the last true shape, which is written on my tablet." And he puts out his fist, full of black fire, and he swallows up the Emperor Raven with a wound. Ayat, only Oryx knows this power, the power to take. On the seventh pace, the perfect raven comes out of Oryx's wound, and she spreads her wings across Tashibeth. Never again is a Tashibethi child born. She is perfect. She enacts the will of Oryx. On the eighth pace, the Tai say, "Listen, you are spoilers. You are sphincters and excreta. You rot. Why do you kill?" We made silver orbitals and golden star webs. We hatched eggs. We had a good thing. Our clothes were nice. Our food was famous. With one of her feathers, our emperor could have tickled the gods. On the ninth pace, Oryx says, "This is the only God. This ability to dictate what will and will not exist. This power to go on existing. This is your God. It is never ticklish." On the 10th base, the Tashibethi are extinct. Then Oryx says, "Listen, my siblings. Do you know what we have done? We have conquered our way to the edge of the deep. It whispers to me when I call on it, and it guides my flight. It says that we are at its threshold, and that we should come inside. I will go and speak to it." Chapter 4, verse 1. Battle made waves. Oryx went down into his throne world. He went out into the abyss, and with each step he read one of his tablets, so that they became like stones beneath his feet. He went out and he created an altar, and he prepared an unborn ogre. He called on the deep, saying, I can see you in the sky. You are the waves, which are battles, and the battles are the waves. Come into this vessel I have prepared for you. And it arrived, the deep itself. Chapter 4, verse 2. Majestic, majestic. Oryx, my king, my friend, kick back, relax, shrug off that armor, set down that blade. Roll your burdened shoulders and let down your guard. This is a place of life, a place of peace. Out in the world, we ask a simple, true question. A question like, can I kill you? Can I rip your world apart? Tell me the truth, for if I don't ask, someone will ask it of me. And they call us evil. Evil. Evil means socially maladaptive. We are adaptiveness itself. Ah, Oryx, how do we explain it to them? The world is not built on the laws they love, not on friendship, but on mutual interest. Not on peace, but on victory by any means. The universe is run by extinction, by extermination, by gamma ray bursts burning up 1,000 garden worlds, by howling singularities eating up infant suns. And if life is to live, if anything is to survive through the end of all things, it will not live by the smile, but by the sword. Not in a soft place, but in a hard hell. Not in the rotting bog of artificial paradise, but in the cold, hard, self-verifying truth of that one ultimate arbiter, the only judge, the power that its own metric and its own source, existence, at any cost. Strip away the lies and truces and delaying tactics they call civilization. And this is what remains, this beautiful shape. The fate of everything is made like this, in the collision, the test of one praxis against another. This is how the world changes. One way meets a second way, and they discharge their weapons. They exchange their words and markets. They contest, and in doing so, they petition each other for the right to go on being something instead of nothing. This is the universe figuring out what it should be in the end. And it is majestic. Majestic. It is the only thing that can be true in and of itself. And it is what I am. Chapter 4, verse 3. When do monsters have dreams? I'm walking down the road. I'm going to the Oryx to talk to my dad. And I hear this noise, so I look back. And my sisters are behind me, and they're ripping up the road. They've got these huge swords, execution swords, and they're levering the stones out of the road. The stones are covered in writing. They're like tablets, and there's dirt underneath full of worms. I need to get to the Oryx before they catch up to me, so I start running. But right away, someone trips me, It's my dad. He's got his foot out, and he grabs me by the horns and just slams me down on my face. I'm in so much pain, I nearly throw up a worm. "Why weren't you ready for this?" Dad says. He's wearing glare goggles, those shiny goggles that he'd used to save his vision during lightning storms or sea fire. All three of his eyes reflect me. "Didn't you know they'd be jealous? Because they couldn't come to the orrery and talk to me? Didn't you know they'd move against you?" I start wailing like I'm 2 days old again, and I say, "Dad, I thought you were my friend. I'm supposed to be safe here." But he just puts out his fist, and I realize he's laughing at me for believing him. Why did I think I'd be safe? In his fist, he's got a black sun, and he holds me by the throat and goes to tip the black sun inside me. I can see my jaws in his goggles. 3 reflections of my jaws with so many teeth. So I start eating my dad. I bite huge pieces out of him, and I claw him up. I eat his legs, and I eat his arms, and I eat his goggles and his eyes, and he says, "Good, good, this is majestic and true." But my sisters are still tearing up the road, so I don't know how to get back. Chapter 4, verse 4. More beautiful to know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a nihilist. I don't do much except break things. That's what they say about me. We could have had a great civilization if it weren't for that damn Oryx, that damn hive. They don't believe in anything but death. The only way to make something good is to make something that can't be broken. And the only way to do that is to try to break everything. I'm glad I learned that the universe runs on death. It's more beautiful to know. But I'm lost somewhere strange. I think that Savathun and Zyvu-Arath are trying to steal the tablets from me. They must have cut off my tribute while I was away communing with the deep. I love them so dearly. No one else is clever or strong enough to try to break me. No one else can give me this gift. Once, long ago, I killed Zyvu-Arath on her war moon, and she blew up the whole moon to kill me with her. She was laughing in joy. I laughed too. A whole moon. A whole moon. It was a waste of a moon, but it taught me how to save myself from exploding worlds, which was necessary to fight the Ecumene. I love mighty Zyvu more than a moon loves the tide. I'll kill her for this. Over and over. Forever and ever. When I get home from my wanderings in the deep and I take back my throne, I'm going to have children. That's what I need. Sons and daughters to love and kill. Chapter 4, verse 5. This love is war. Zyvu upon Oryx, uttered by Zyvu-Arath, sibling of Oryx. Betrayal. We have marooned Oryx within the deep. This is our obligation as lords of the hive, to make war upon each other, to eradicate weakness and make ourselves sharp. Obligations. Once I permitted Oryx to kill me so that he could gain the sword logic and overcome Akka, our god. This left me trapped deep in my throne. But Oryx, my brother, made war upon the Ecumene, and in that war, he described me, for I too am war. Thus I was resurrected. Resurrection. Savathun and I conspired to strand Oryx on his expedition, but I secretly believe that I will be stronger with Oryx to war against. Thus I describe him. A description of Oryx. When Oryx looks upon you, you feel that you may vanish if he looks away. The crest of Oryx's skull is as long as an arm. In the course of its life, a thought moves from one end to the other. Upon his crest, I have painted a line in my blood, so that he will remember me. Each of Oryx's fangs has the precision of a finger and the acuity of an eye. Although he was born at the bottom of the universe and taught to burrow, Oryx has grown wings. The light of wildfire shines through them. Oryx teaches, but he will not be taught. Oryx's body is corded with strength. His sinews and his muscles are strong as his children, and his children are the strength of him. Oryx wears a raiment of warm silk, made from the call of gods. The voice of Oryx may cause two different numbers to become equal. Oryx, my brother, is the bravest thing I know. Upon fundament, he learned that we were the natural prey of the universe, the most frail and desperate of things. He thought about this carefully, and he found a way to fix it. He made us strong. He will lead us into eternity. Oryx, my brother, loves me, and this love is war. Chapter 4, verse 6, Eater of Hope. You are Crota, my son. Welcome. I fought my way out of hell to make you. I fought my traitor siblings, and I fought the swarming corpse of Aka, and I cut my way back into my own court, the high war which had been usurped. Once I had made war on Savathun, and crippled her tribute so that she could never challenge me, and once I had tricked Zyvu Arath and poisoned her tribute so that she could never again try to take my tablets, and once I had arranged my own lineage so that I would be the greatest among the hive and secure on my throne, then I found a mother to make spawn. One of those spawn was you. Your life will be a battle too. You will have to win your place at the high war. I will give you nothing except this, your first sword, and this name I have prepared for you. We fight a war against false hope, Crota. We chase a god called the Traveler, a huckster god who baits young life into building houses for it. These houses are unsafe, for they cannot stand against my hive. And these houses are a trap, for they lead young life away from the blade and the tooth, which are the tools of survival and the means of ascension. Only when the Traveler is extinguished will the universe be free to arrange itself and assume, by ruthless contest, its final perfect shape, a shape which depends on nothing but itself. Thus I name you Crota, Eater of Hope. There is an oath upon me, Crota, my son, an oath against the wretched Teox. This I do not give to you. It is for me, your father, to bear. Let's go meet your uncles and aunts. Chapter 4, verse 7. Shapes, points. Look at you. Already you are grown. My daughter, already you are a wizard. Have I been away so long? Now you are Anak, and Savathun cackles and rages at your brilliance. You have written 11 axioms describing the ascendant places, our throne world. You have announced that you will kill one of these axioms, as Aka would kill the truth. And in mantling Aka, you will become a god as I am. If you try it, I may kill you, or I may applaud. Well done. I brought you this bitter acid for your celebrations. And you, Halak, you are a wizard too, as is the way of twins. I have been with Zyvu Arath, who complains that you have made a song and sung it in her throne world, and killed everyone who listened quite irrevocably. Will we have songs instead of swords and boomers? What have you made for me? It is a tooth shaped like death. I will keep it in my mouth. What have you written for me? It is the course of the Nisha thought ship. I will track it down. I made you by cutting one larvae in half. It would not die. Each half grew into one of you. My sword is named Willbreaker, but it never broke you. Chapter 4, verse 8. The partition of death. One day, Oryx decided to grow new wings. While he wrestled with his worm, he came upon his twin daughters dying in a wound between places. What are you doing, my daughters? He asked. He was afraid that Halak and Anuk were trying to go into the deep, where only the tablets of ruin allowed Oryx to go. We are dying, father, they said, as many times as we can manage. That's adorably precious. Oryx shook out his new wings. But why? We propose a method by which ascendant souls can be detached and integrated into a tautological and autonomous thantanosphere, which we tentatively term an oversoul. Oversouls can be stored in a throne world as a mechanism of enhanced death resilience. As a side effect, new refinements to our death song may be achieved, moving us closer to a generally effective paracausal death impulse. Oryx brandished his sword. Speak the royal tongue, or I'll pin you up for ire to eat. If we can separate our deaths from ourselves and hide them, we will be hard to kill. Oryx went to his son Crota. Go keep an eye on your sisters, he said. You can learn cunning from them. But while Oryx traveled to observe the deep, destroy an ancient fortress world, Crota conspired with his sisters to learn their secrets. I too will experiment with a wound, he said. With his sword, Crota cut open a new wound into a new space. In here he thought he might obtain a secret power. Out of this wound came machines called Vex. They invaded Oryx's throne world. Chapter 4, verse 9. Open your eye. Go into it. The Vex clattered around, constructing large problems. At first, their constructions were deranged, because they didn't understand the sword logic. which defined all rules in Oryx's throne world. The geometry perplexed them. "I'll cut them apart," Crota said. But just then, the Vex ritual of better thoughts manifested a mind called Quiria, Blade Transform. Quiria deduced the sword logic. "I have to kill everything," Quiria resolved. "Then I will be powerful." Crota's gate began to emit warrior Vex, huge and brassy. He leapt forward to fight them, but they blinked away. After they fled from Crota, they killed 2,000 of Oryx's acolytes and 10,000 of his thrall. Soon they had established themselves as power in this world by right of slaughter. "Come forth, sister wizards," called Halak. "We need you." Hanuk pulled a sword star out of the sky. Together the wizards charged it with killing power, and made an annihilator totem, which they used to smash the Vex. "Close the wound, brother Crota," Anuk ordered. "We will find a cunning way to destroy them, but only after they stop constructing problems on us." But Quiria had instanced herself to the other side of the gate and built a holdfast to keep the way opened. Quiria's objective was to exploit the paracausal physics of Oryx's throne to become divine. It organized a series of test invasions. For 100 years of local time, the siblings fought the Vex. When the Vex came into the sword world, they were inevitably annihilated. But when the Hive went into the Vex world, they too lost much of their power to win. "Father's going to eat our souls," Halak sighed. Quiria captured some worm larvae and began experimenting with them. Soon, Quiria, Blade Transform, manifested religious tactics. By directing worship at the worms, Quiria learned it could alter reality with mild ontopathogenic effects. Being an efficient machine, Quiria manufactured a priesthood and ordered all its subminds to believe in worship. Then it set about abducting and killing dangerous organisms so it could bootstrap itself to Hive godhood. For some Vex reason, Quiria never attempted to introduce worm larvae into its mind fluid. Savathun was laughing because she had tricked Crota into cutting that place. This drew the attention of the worm hour god. Oryx called Eir, "Set your house in order." Chapter 4, verse 10. An emperor for all outcomes. Oryx rushed home and read from the tablets of ruin. He put some of the Vex into wounds to be taken by the power of the deep. Thus he turned the Vex against each other. Quiria manifested a range of tactics, but none of them were adaptive. Oryx crushed all the Vex in his throne. Oryx thought that he should study geometry like the Vex. It was the map of perfect shapes. But first, he had to punish imperfection. "My son," he said, "this is your punishment. Come home glorious, or die forgotten." He picked up Crota by the legs and threw him into the Vex gate network. Crota battled through history, becoming a legendary demon. In his early centuries, he often spared a few victims to hear oaths and protests against his father. Later, he came to understand Oryx, and he made temples and monuments wherever he went. Meanwhile, Oryx brooded on the Vex. I've met a worthy rival, he said. They want to exist forever, just as I do, but I do not understand them. At this, his worm began to chew on him, for he was bound to understand. He called Savathun to meet in the material world. She told him that the Vex worked tirelessly to understand everything, so that they could build a victory condition for every possible end state of the universe. Then I must be a better king, Oryx said. If they want to build an emperor for all outcomes, then I will be the king of the only one. I will follow the deep wherever it goes and document its power. Let us create a catalog of the grave worlds, which will be our victory map. Oryx knew that all life could be described as cellular automata, except for life that which understood the deep or the sky, and thus escaped causality. Out of love for her brother, which was the same as the desire to kill him, Savathun leaked a secret to Xivu Arath. Listen, Xivu. Oryx's throne world has been compromised. You can cut your way in from here. Xivu Arath used this to plan an ambush. But Oryx was too canny. The Taken King said to his court, the High War, "My throne world is vulnerable. I am going to move it." "Where?" asked Kagor, World Render. "Into a mighty dreadnought," said Oryx. "I shall keep my glorious mind cosmos inside a titanic warship." Chapter 4, Verse 11. Dreadnought. To make his ship, Oryx scrimshawed one piece of Aka, who was dead but far from gone. He stole the hammer of Xivu Arath and the scalpel of Savathun, and he armored his ship in baneful armor. When Oryx had built his dreadnought, he pushed his throne world inside out, so that it bled into the material space of the dreadnought. They were coterminous and allied, his ship and his sin. The dreadnought was within the throne of Oryx, but the throne of Oryx was the dreadnought, Ayat. This required a verse from the tablets of ruin. The whole court worked together to push Oryx's throne inside out. This was a day of joyous violence, and all of Oryx's broods mark this holiday as Eversian Day, which is celebrated by turning things inside out. Saith Oryx, "Go out into the universe, my court, gather tribute for me. Send it home to my ship. When I call you, walk up that tribute to my court. I will prepare long voyages. I am Savathun Insidious. Into the war, I graffiti this notice for you. Into the deep, these books are full of lies." Now Oryx's throne was safe from incursion, because it moved so nimbly. Oryx attacked the harmonious flotilla Invincible, who guarded the Nisha thought ship. When the flotilla surrounded his dreadnought, Oryx put his sword into the hole, and he used the power of the deep and the clever systems his daughters built to push his throne world out into mere reality. By wrath and confidence, he filled space with an egg of his throne. It swelled up like a ghost star to smash the harmonious flotilla Invincible. Oryx broke the last word off their name. In the Nisha thought ship, Oryx hoped to find the location of the gift mast, which had been left behind by the traveler. Oryx wanted to eat it. But the thought ship was a trap. Upon it was Quiria, blade transform. Chapter 5, verse 0. I am going to kill you. I am going to salt my meat with your briny little thoughts. I'm going to cook your flesh on your broken, molten hull. This ship is my throne. You want to take it from me. You want to fill it up with your own spawn and use it for your abstract purposes. But I will defy you. You will never be what I am. Simulate me, wretch. Calculate the permutations of my divinity. Compute the death in the shape of my throne. Render my shadow on the stone of 10,000 graveyard worlds. It will never be enough. I hold the tablets of ruin. I speak to the deep. Not with a galaxy of thinking matter could you encompass me. Behold. Chapter 5, verse 1. End of a failed timeline. By now, Quiria knows it can't win. There's something pathological about the world inside Oryx's ship. It resists analysis with hot, dead spite. And Oryx himself, he's irreducible. He refuses to obey Quiria's simulations. He crashes around sowing chaos. He grabs subminds and compromises them with some kind of ontological weapon. Paracausal systems. Very problematic. Quiria's trying the religious tactics it evolved in the Hive manifold. But even on those terms, Oryx is strong. So strong. Quiria won't be able to protect its gates much longer. The closest Quiria's got to a simulation of Oryx is a best guess bootstrap. It's wrong. Quiria's sure of that. It's Oryx minus the symbiote organism, minus the wings and morphs, minus the weapon, minus the power. No good for anything. Quiria manifests that simulation anyway, just to see what happens. The Taken King marches on Quiria's Hydra hull, armed with blade and magic, cloaked in ancient cloth, and the universe wails in horror around him. Quiria's physics models and toy worlds choke and crash. Quiria observes, alert and attentive, as a single quark splits on the tip of Oryx's sword. From within the Hydra hull, Quiria's tiny, not Oryx, speaks. What are you? It says. It's manifesting terror and awe. Oryx's eyes blaze with a curiosity that is entirely isomorphic with hate, with voracious hunger. Orash, he says in his hive language. You've made me as I was. You've made a tiny Orash. Ha. Quiria updates the simulation's name. Orash is curious. You're me? You're me as I become? Oryx kneels. His blade is on his left shoulder. Quiria is firing every available weapon at him, but his wards don't break. He looks into Quiria's sensors through the hammering fire and he says, Child, I have everything you wanted. I am immortal. I know the great secrets of the universe. I have scouted the edges of the darkness, and I have chased the lying god down galactic arms in a howling pack of moons. In my fist, I carry the secret power that will rule eternity. In my worm, I bear the tribute of my court and of my children, the Hope Eater, the Weaver, and the Unraveler. And with this tribute, I smash my foes. I am Oryx, the Taken King. I am Almighty. Quiria samples the Teox intelligence retrieved from the Ecumene Gate. There are useful names. It feeds them to the simulation. What about your sisters? Orash asks his future self. Sathona, Zyro, are they with you? The Taken King's fangs glint. That sound might be a laugh or a hiss. Quiria shuts down its weapons and puts all its spare resources into sending telemetry to the Greater Vex. There will be points in space and time where this data is vital. There will be great projects undertaken in the study of this ontological power, this throne space. Where are my sisters? Orash shouts. What have you done with my people? What have you done? But Oryx's fist is full of black fire, and the next thing Quiria sees is a light like stars. Chapter 5, Verse 2. Strict Proof Eternal. I have a gift for you, says Oryx. Savathun, Witch Queen, looks at him with dry wariness. Is it the sword logic I need to go into the deep and take your power for myself? Their echoes move along the war moons, walking together on the hull of a 2,000-year-old warship. Savathun's fleet has assembled here in preparation for an assault on the gift mast. The deep is headed that way, on the trail of its prey, and the hive will be its vanguard. It's a Vex I captured. Quiria, blade transform. I made an attempt to puncture my throne. I thought you might enjoy studying it. Oryx pauses, digesting. Through the bond of lineage, he can feel Crota killing, worlds and worlds away, and it tastes like sweet fat. Quiria contains a Vex attempt to simulate me. It might generate others. You, perhaps. Or Zyvu Arath. I've left it some will of its own, so it can surprise you. I suppose it'll blow up and kill me, Savathun grouses. Or let the machines into my throne, where they'll start turning everything into clocks and glass. If it kills you, then you deserve to die. Oryx says it with a quiet thrill, a happy thrill, because it is good to say the truth. I don't have a strict proof yet, you know. Savathun strokes the void with one long claw, and space-time groans beneath her touch. This thing we believe, that we're liberating the universe by devouring it, that we're cutting out the rot, that we're on course to join the final shape. I haven't found a strict, eternal proof. We might yet be wrong. Oryx looks at her, and for a moment, just a moment, he is nostalgic. He is sentimental. He thinks, imagine the years behind us, the things we've done. And yet being old doesn't feel like a scar, does it? It hasn't left me dull. I feel alive. Alive with you. and every time I step back into this world from my throne, I feel like I'm 2 years old again, at the bottom of the universe, looking up. But he says, "Sister, it's us. We're the proof. We the hive. If we last forever, we prove it. And if something more ruthless conquers us, then the proof is sealed." She looks back at him with eyes like hot needles. "I like that," she says. "That's elegant." Although, of course, she has had this thought before. Chapter 5, verse 3. I'd shut them all in cells. Pray and sacrifice, uttered by Zyvu-Arath, god of war. Harmony. When the traveler passed across Harmony, it lied to the orbits of 10 worlds. Now they orbit the black hole. The traveler lied to the accretion disk so that it would give warm light to these worlds. The gift mast. When the traveler left Harmony, it made a monument out of the black hole's polar jet. In the jet, there is a hollow mast which sings in radiance. This is the gift mast, and we will devour it. We will eat the sky out of it, and we will snap it like a bone. The Harmony sting. The Harmony have weaponized their dead star. They can stimulate the accretion disk to fire relativistic plasma jets. We will take the sting. We will use it to burn their worlds. I will grant 1 temple of tribute to the first ascendant to kill a world. Oryx. I will have the gift mass to feast on. I will have it first. I am Zyvu-Arath, and all war is my temple. Beware the daughters of Oryx, for they make and unmake with ease. Zavathun. The deceitful sister will be distracted by Arcana and the song of the black hole. Treat her broods with contempt. The traveler. We chase it and we will devour it. The deep will rule the cosmos. The dragons. Our gods should be ours alone. Their smug freedom is an insult to me. I'd shut them all in cells. Bring them to me. Chapter 5, verse 4. The gift mast. The gift mast. It towers above this star system like a monument to treason. It beams with silver light. It sings a radio lullaby made of soothing lies. In its light live the Harmony, and they are now our prey. Now arrives Zyvu-Arath at the head of her armada. She fights the Harmony for 50 years with strategies and discipline. But the Harmony turn to dragon wishes, and their wishful bishop wrestles Zyvu in the ascendant plane. Zyvu falls into deadlock. Next arrives Zavathun, flanked by her chorus and her celebrants. They tricked their way onto Ana Harmony in disguises, so that they may vivisect these dragons. The worm our god laughs and laughs. For 100 years, Zavathun keeps secret covens among the Harmony. But first of all was Oryx, whose brood grew in secret places in the rubble of the accretion disk. The first navigator sends rocks and comets to crash into the Harmony worlds, so that the Harmony fleet will be disarrayed. He sends cedars to infiltrate the Harmony worlds with his broods. Here, at the center of the 5th book, the hive has grown so mighty that it has made the annihilation of all false life routine. Xivu-Arath kills the wishful bishop, and Savathun achieves some secret purpose, and Oryx's court tears down the gift mast. The Harmony people wail in terror, and they throw themselves into the silver lakes on Anna Harmony to drown. Come, saith Oryx, eat of the gift mast, for I am a generous god. Of its pieces, I claim only 2 out of every 5. The mast is full of the light of the traveler. It is full of the marrow taste of sky. All who eat it are filled with the ecstatic certainty that they serve a great and necessary purpose. Then saith Savathun, Siblings, listen. We must part ways a while, so that we may grow different. She flies her war moons into the black hole. Her throne becomes distant. Saith Xivu-Arath, King Oryx, you take up too much space. Your power constrains too many choices. I must go away from you. She flies her war moons away into the night. Her throne is barred shut. Then Oryx was alone. He spent a while in thought, and those thoughts are recorded here. Chapter 5, verse 5. Apocalypse refrains. This is our message to the things that we kill. A species which believes that a good existence can be invented through games of civilization and through laws of conduct is doomed by that belief. They will die in terror. The lawless and the ruthless will drag them down to die. The universe will erase their monuments. But the one that sets out to understand the one true law and to perform worship of that law will by that decision gain control over their future. They will gain hope of ascendance, and by their ruthlessness they will assist the universe in arriving at its perfect shape. Only by eradicating from ourselves all clemency for the weak can we emulate and become that which endures forever. This is inevitable. The universe offers only one choice, and it is between ruthlessness and extinction. We stand against the fatal lie that a world built on laws of conduct may ever resist the action of the truly free. This is the slavery of the traveler, the crime of creation, in which labor is wasted on the construction of false shapes. If you choose to fight us with everything you have, with all your laws and games. We will prove our argument thus. Chapter 5, verse 6. Ayat. All is well, Ayat. What is at war is healthy. What is at peace is sick. My son Crota feeds me rich, rich tribute. My lineages are strong. My worm is vast and satiated. And with that security, I can spend my time on study and communion with the deep. As I learn more secrets, my power grows. As my power grows, I use it to learn more secrets. Ayat, let it be thus because it must. I wonder if my sisters have secrets of their own. If my power exceeds theirs, I may kill them permanently and subsume their thrones. But I think they have strength that they hide from me, developed in time of separation. Ayat, the only meaningful relationship is the attempt to destroy. Savathun asks if I am as much a slave of the deep as my taken. She asks what price I pay for my power. I am not taken. The hive is not the deep. The deep doesn't want everything to be the same. It wants life, strong life. Life that lives free without the need for a habitat of games to insulate it from reality. When I make my taken, I make them closer to perfect. I heal their wounds and enhance their strengths. This is inherently good. Ayat, the only right is existence. The only wrong is non-existence. I am Oryx, the first navigator, the taken king. Ayat, let me be what I am, because to be anything else would be fatal. Chapter 5, verse 7. Forever and a blade. I considered returning to Fundament, learning what became of the God Wave and the tungsten monoliths and the continents which were all that remained of my people's primal home. But I know what became of all that. It became me. I am the heir of Fundament, the immortal descendant of those 10-year krill. I asked a question. How can we live in the universe long enough to understand it? And I learned the answer, which is written here in this book. I learned that I had to become most ruthless of all. I don't know where the darkness which is the deep came from, nor the traveler that I hunt, but I will learn. I will learn. This is my inheritance, my estate, eternity, infinity, the whole universe beneath my sword. This is what I rule, forever and a blade. Chapter 5, verse 8. Worm food. What will happen if I die? It suits me to consider this, for I am a great ally of death. My daughters study the quiddity of death. My son practices the inhabitation of death. And my great work is, in Ultima, to become synonymous with death. To die, and in that dying, live, so that if the universe comes to nothing, then I will be a part of that nothing. Far better to have a savage universe with a happy end than a happy universe with no hope. I have died many times, but these deaths were only temporary. If my echoes are killed, and I am killed in the material world, then I will be driven back to my throne, the Dreadnought. If my court and my throne can be beaten, if I am confronted in my throne, if I am defeated there, then I will die. My work will end. This is the pact to which I am bound, in particular by my study of the tablets of ruin, and by my use of the power of the deep. When I call upon that power, I put myself up as the stakes in a wager. I gamble with my soul. For I am saying, listen, my gods, I am the mightiest thing there is, and I prove it thus. Lately, I have realized how much I depend on Crota and my daughters, and even upon my court. If I lost them, my outlays would exceed my intakes. My tribute would not be enough to feed my worm. But this is proper, for if I lost them, it would be because they were not mighty enough, and then I would be a bad father, a bad king. I must test them and fight with them to keep them strong. This is my Gaius. I will go on forever. I will understand everything. There is only one path, and that is the path that you make. But you can make more than one path. Break your cell's bars. Make a new shape. Make the shape from its path. Find your cell's bars. Break out of the bars. Find a shape. Make that shape from its path. Eat the light. Eat the path. If I fail, let me be worm food. Chapter 5, verse 9. I'll make sure. I have made preparations. If I am defeated, I know it will be because my understanding of the universe was incomplete. I failed to anticipate some strategy, some nemesis, perhaps Teox, if she still lives. If I am defeated, I know that I will fall to something mighty, something that craves might, something that loves what I love, which is the deep, a principle and a power, the versatile protean need to adapt and endure, to reach out and shape the universe entirely for that purpose, to mutate and redesign and test and iterate so that it can prevail, can seize existence and hold it, certain that this is everything, that there is nothing to life except living. And it has two faces, yet is one shape. One face is the objective, which is obvious, and the other face is that will to sacrifice things and ideas for a single mission, the mission of becoming the shape, a shape that will not relent, the utter commitment to survival, to draw the right sword and choose where to cut, to allow this hunger to become your weapon. So I will prepare a book, which is a map to a weapon, and my vanquisher will read that book, seeking that weapon, and they will come to understand me, where I have been and where I was going, and they will take up my weapon, and they will use it. They will use that weapon, which is all that I am. And armed thus with my past and my future and my present, which is a weapon that takes whatever is available, a weapon bound to malice, they will mantle me, Oryx, the taken king. They will become me, and I will become them, each of us defeating the other, correcting the other, alloying ourselves into one omnipotent philosophy. Thus, I will live forever. I'll make sure. Oryx defeated. Listen. Death is the last part of living, and life is learning to die. The song is the same as singing. The last truth commands me to eat all the light in the sky. I will go on forever. I will understand. Dwell a moment on the weight of what you've done. Contemplate the story you just ended. Will you ever do anything that screams down the millennia? Will you ever hammer your will on the universe until it rings and rings and rings? Oryx was an awesome power. Show reverence. All right. Enough. Enough. A vacancy has opened, hasn't it? How interesting. How very interesting. Do you ever pause, dear listener, to consider who benefits from all this heroism you commit? Do you ever look around you and feel the faintest chill, as if you are the tiny little ball bearing placed beneath a great mass, so that it might, if pushed, begin to roll? You're a god yourself now. You've consecrated yourself. Emulate me. Use your power to learn. There are worse things to practice being. Kings fall. Where are you going? No, wait. Listen. I was right. At first. In the ever-expanding, blighted place, even light must obey the sword logic. Even you guardians, you best and brightest of the dying dawn, you drew blood in honor of the taken king. The war priest did his duty, and you did yours. Oryx was challenged, yes, but challenged in the way of the hive, which is to say, a challenge is worship, his challenge is power, sword logic. You played your part well. You were not supposed to touch the light. How did you find your way into the king's cellars? How did you even recognize that benighted drought for what it was? Do you not know that the hive pursue light precisely for the purpose of devouring it with slavering jaws and slick, greedy, gulping throats? How did you take, or rather untake, the blighted light that Oryx gathered to offer in sacrifice to Aka, and ignite it so that it burned and burned the darkness? It was barely light anymore, but you took it, and when you took it, you did not keep it. You set it free. You fools. You disastrous, bumbling squanderers. It's not right. Who now shall be first navigator, lord of shapes, harrowed god, taken king? Not you. You might have been kings and queens of the deep, but you have toppled Oryx, and you have not replaced him. There must be a strongest one. It is the architecture of these spaces. Why are you leaving? Touch of malice. A weapon that draws upon the hive's ravenous darkness itself. A weapon that could turn back upon the hive all the suffering they have inflicted upon us. It is done. I name it touch of malice, for it is not the hive's own doing. Take it, guardian, and remember that they had a choice, and now, so do we. Let them feel every lash, every curse, every touch of malice that they first dealt to me.